After what I had seen arise from my dark living room that perturbing night, I began to observe the world with new eyes. Occurrences I might have previously brushed off as mere coincidence now showed themselves to be evidential. Trivial episodes of serendipity eclipsed the vagaries of science and became proof of some interblending, some crossfading of reality with my fantasies. Ideas I had once seen as superstitious and naive were now mysterious and worth my attention. This mind-speaking emigre from my dreams had rewired me, taken a hold of my thoughts, and altered my worldview. I reassessed everything about myself, recollecting past coincidences in my life I had previously deemed benign, and under this new light found them otherwise. Happenstances were not just chance, but rather entanglements. They were manifestations, my imagination's coarse fibers itching at reality, forcing it to scratch. My mind was different, steeped as Clyde's costume had been in a new concept that transformed my old self into me and Clyde to personal divinity. I had never been a religious man, yet I finally knew what it was to felt like I had belief. What a fool I'd been to have denied myself the benefits of faith. Intellect had always prevented me from worshiping a god, when the answer was so easy. I had but to create my own. It was with these new eyes and attitudes that I found more of those golden grimaces concealed in my surroundings. Many more, and all in the strangest of places. One charm I found during my research in the pages of an old book on ancient Visnomy. Another turned up at the bottom of a prop box, and once I even found one under a table while cleaning up after one of my mystery shows in Princeton. The theater, like a great galleon, had moved upstream with a speed that generated among the actors both amusement and suspicion, whispering to each other,
"The money is great, but what's he really up to?"
With my new ally, fortune showered me with break after lucky break. So many fantastic things had happened with such frequency that I was becoming conditioned to expect only future success. We were busy trooping the countryside, traveling and performing in search of crowds and coin. The 8-cylinder Vandal we used proved worthy of the long journeys. Whether the destination was the barrier islands of New Jersey, the manure-scented back roads of Lancaster, or the traffic-jammed labyrinth of Manhattan, the Vandal never failed us. 30 miles, 60 miles, 300, we marveled at the rolling of the odometer. Now, to be honest, it was often a shaky ride. The heater gave little comfort when we glided across the icy roads of Niagara Falls, nor did the broken air conditioner aid us much in the brutal heat and humidity of colonial Williamsburg. But I couldn't complain too much, for the engine was mighty, bearing us over the Pocono Mountains, fully laden with sets and gear just as readily as it could make speed on the Garden State Parkway or the Turnpike. Indeed, our black truck seemed possessed of a wild gig lust that exploded within its piston chambers and hurtled us toward each and every theatric deed. Our resume expanded. Venue after venue fell under the might of our persuasive brochure. Be they train cars trundling through historic towns or riverboats steaming down the Delaware, we took bookings as robbers take, well, whatever the hell they want. Our game might be clustered row homes or the mansions of aristocrats, the basements of cathedrals, or on skyscraping casinos. We played the part of conqueror and made any place a stage. Kids, seniors, blacks, retards, teens, drunks, Jews, students, nearly every kind of human, and even some types of animals, had witnessed our weirdness. Our skills flourished with each and every experience. Restaurants, of course. Small theaters on occasion, but also parks, playgrounds, hotels, B&Bs, universities, libraries, breweries. We kind of like the breweries. Airports, ski lodges, castles, chemical plants, nudist colonies. Yes! We were beginning to feel as if we'd seen it all, and our glorious roaming earned our fair share of applause, boos, and dubious reviews. Many New Year's Eves passed that way. Riddlesbrood Touring Theatre doubled its business each and every year, gratifying me and terrifying our competitors. These years of relative prosperity enabled me to finally work full-time at my calling. Some attributed our success to a combination of luck, the internet, and the economy, but actually, it was because I elevated him. I didn't credit him as a god. It was far too early for that. But I can grant him ascension to the role of chief mascot. A real mascot. Not some cartoonish mouse or squeaking gerbil, but something downright serious. I enthroned Clyde P. Riddlesbrood in all of our company branding from that date forwards. It has been said that a brand is a combination of aesthetic elements such as packaging, colors, and a logo that together create a special feel that speaks to the services of a company and differentiates it from others. You may have seen a great deal of commercial branding in other businesses or on TV, but I am sure that ours stands out from the rest. With him thus ordained, I set myself on the fervent work of strengthening the theater. It was my intent to so fortify the company that an arsenal of siege weapons would be required to bring it down. Indeed, should archaeologists dig up the fabulous grave goods of our rulers far in the future, they will ask, who were these magnificent kings of theater? To which I will yell across the eons and into their little ears, 'Twas us! Clearly, the uniqueness of my strategy is beyond question. But there were many practical reasons why this visitant became the perfect dramatis personae. After all, the company was named after him, but more importantly, he emerged from the noumenal. An idea, and nothing is more perfect than that. He had been the company's fountainhead from the earliest times and, technically speaking, our only real angel investor. In addition, his purple and gold motif worked particularly well for our full-color brochure. In fact, even our company dress code utilizes this branding. Our uniform is comprised of a black fleece with our puppet-like sigil seared into the left breast and a dark violet shirt underneath it. These articles are given to each of our prospects only after a period of initiation. If an actor performed well during that year, they will find their garment hanging calmly from the mystical hat rack, a practice with origins you likely can piece together. Thus, we celebrate this every year and have continued to do so till this very day. We use it on our website, our blog, and email broadcasts. We have also applied his colors to our banners, business cards, and other advertising. Just mull over the franchising opportunities. What about your target audience? Well, you might ask. Doubt my logic if you must, but imagine what a spiritual entity actually communicates to our customers. Remember, we are selling a service, not a physical product. What diversionary theater needs is a spokesman as intangible as its wares. Who better than a being from a dream world, a man composed of costumes? After all, a corporation is an artificial person, an immortal, who, when partnered with me, made us quite the pair, Dr. Heckle and Formaldehyde. This company has no home, no space of our own, and so ghost-like we inhabit our stages. Truly, we could have no finer representative. So rather than by scientific means, I have defined our style in a rather simple way, to wit, crowning the mysterious presence from my mother's attic as our founder and the doctrine of his mysterious and unappeased ambitions as our company culture. Some economic conservatives might frown upon this use of outsorcery, but I have integrated many of the unusual rituals, initiations, and symbols into our corporate identity. So rather than deplete our treasury on focus groups, market professionals, and other expensive frivolities, I found it much more cost-effective to utilize the milieu that was already extant in my dreams. I know that I have been charged with raising his banner and creating a beachhead on our earthly plane. Think about it. Has it occurred to you that our service area might only be his staging ground? My company is but this showmeister's colony. You may also be aware that since you have been reading this material, or in this case listening, you may have undergone certain neurological changes. Be at ease. I can assure you that they are well-intentioned, carefully placed clues to your subconscious intended only to ensure that you keep our bargain. But enough of that. I will end my sermonizing and return to the story. We were approaching our 10-year anniversary. I was walking from my back door carrying a bag of costumes out to the truck on a beautiful spring morning. Flowers bloomed on the hedges and birds were chirping amid its colorful display. Even the tree in our neighbor's yard was magnificently adored with white petals bursting from their buds. On reaching the gate, the smell of freshly cut grass entered my nose, and the half-forgotten sound of an antique horn echoed in my ears. As if to cap off this sensory experience, an image appeared before my eyes of an old motorcycle ridden by a large guy. A classic bike that only he could keep running, and there was a strange item tied to the back of its fender. As Ozzy was my most important actor at the time, I will take a moment to mark his main entrance onto the stage of this story. I have called him Ozzy, his stage name here, for his true label has an annoying sound and gives the utterly wrong mental picture of the man. His appearance, unlike the old saying, was quite an accurate measure of his contents. Long, sandy hair reminiscent of an earlier decade was by far his most striking feature, and his tall build made him a formidable presence. Numerous tattoos also peeked out from beneath his sleeves and collar. Yet any who knew the man would choose to ignore these prominent traits to remark on his wild-eyed genius. Our company's resident gadgeteer, since the Cedar Barn days, Ozzy possessed a tremendous gift with regard to the build, as he called it. His ability to fabricate all of the gizmos and other mechanics that populated our unusual shows almost defies description. Truth be told, he could create almost anything the mind could imagine. "Hey, it's showtime!" he yelled as he jumped off his bike. The words exploded out of his mouth with an excitement and volume abnormal for a morning, yet typical for him. I smiled, but did not answer right away. I dropped some of the bags next to the bumper of the truck.
"You in a good mood? It's a great day,"
he said.
Yeah, sure I am. I'm fine, just haven't had my cup of coffee.
"Whoa! Coffee! All right then, can I help you load up?"
Won't complain about that.
He slapped my shoulder and sprinted into the back door. I followed him in and was struck by the scent of spring wafting in through the open windows. I was glad that he had arrived. He always had the unique power to raise my spirits, and probably anyone on the street, in a store, or in the restroom as he talked to the surprised man at the urinal beside him. When Ozzy was near, you could always feel an almost incommunicable energy emanating off of him. I unlocked the truck doors, dropped the lock on the bumper, and opened it up. Turning around, I walked back to the house to collect the rest of our gear. I skipped into the back door and onto the small enclosed porch area, then caddy corner into the kitchen where Ozzy squeezed past me with a heavy speaker.
I hate these huge things. We need smaller ones,"
he grunted.
You buying?
I asked with a laugh.
"Where's Craig?"
Meeting us there. I hope.
He shuffled past me as I pushed a chair out of the way for my next trip. From the kitchen, I strolled into the office, and 5 steps later, I was in the living room. For a moment, I thought someone was in there with me. But then I relaxed. You see, it was only Riddlesbrood, draped quietly upon the hat rack in the corner. I grabbed the podium, tilted it back on its wheels, and rolled the metal contraption across the floor. Ozzy had welded it together to hold a rack-mounted sound system, one of his recent inventions. The room was dark, but the morning light shone through the windows, cheering the place up. I pushed the object out of the room and into the office, where Ozzy had returned. He stepped behind my desk to make a little room for me.
It's cramped in here,
I said lightly.
Yeah, but check out how it rolls. Nice, huh? Aluminum, baby.
He was proud of his work, as was I. Although still heavy, it rolled like a breeze, taking a chunk of time out of our setup. I rolled past him and into the kitchen again, where it just barely passed between the door and the washing machine. Once at the door, I guided it down the step and then made that tight turn into the porch for that next leg of the journey.
Who designed this house? A blind man?
Ozzy asked. Out on the sidewalk, I noticed that this time it was free of the old woman's seeds. My troublesome neighbor, along with other porch sitters, loiterers, and vagrants, were overly watchful about my activities. Though uncomfortably curious, they never actually interfered. She, the crazy squirrel lady, particularly disapproved in a passive sort of way, mumbling on occasion something about having an unregistered business out of my home. But I cared nothing for that. I had all the authority I needed, a spectral mandate. With a heave, I pushed the podium into the metal bed, shoving it toward the cab. As I turned for the next trip, I heard the expected yell.
Hey, give me a hand with this goddamn thing.
I'm coming,
I said, as I jogged into the house again, nearly spraining my ankle on the loose bricks shoddily comprising their sidewalk. He was moving the large rectangular screen when one of his flip-flops had fallen off. Ignoring the abandoned sandal, I picked up one end of the screen and manhandled it out.
You know, if you wore shoes like a normal person, this wouldn't have happened.
Shut up and help!
All right,
I said.
Nice and...
Too late! The side of the box had dug into the door frame, leaving a gash next to the others. Oh, she's not going to like that, I thought.
Dude, your wife's gonna be so pissed. Looks even shittier than before.
Yeah, well, that's what you get when you book 100 shows in a year,
I said, throwing my arms into the air and smiling.
You're right. You're crushing it, dude. But you got a kid on the way now, buddy. You better make it 150 next year. Diapers cost money.
We pulled the oblong box back out of the door and into the little yard and out onto the sidewalk before dropping it onto the ground suddenly to allow the blood to flow back into our fingers.
I got it from here,
he said as I let go. I ran back into the house again for the costumes. Ozzy was right about my wife. She would definitely be unhappy with the mark in the wood and all the other damage. But I must give her credit. When she married me months before, she knew about my maddening obsession and still said yes. Regrettably, she has requested that I refrain from speaking of her in this work, and I, begrudgingly agreed to respect her wishes, providing that I be exempt from certain household chores. So please don't think me cold for my lack of disclosure about her. Be content in the knowledge that I adore the lady, and as a husband, discretion is my duty to obey. Anyhow, this is a brochure, not a romance novel or a treatise on my domestic affairs. Indeed, she has asked me not to reveal even her name. Still, I do value your steady companionship as well, listener, and feel that we too have become uncommonly close. Therefore, I shall make a secret bargain with you. If your curiosity is strong enough, then do this. Email me at info@riddlesbrood.com. Make it clear you wish to know more about her, the strange dream that ushered her into my life, and her preoccupation with the crescent moon. Include a small gratuity of, say, $365, and I shall send you her story. But we'll just keep that between us. Alrighty, let's move on. As I grabbed the last bag from the room, I picked up the keys from the desk and turned off the light switch. But before the lights went out, I couldn't help but look up at the cheap popcorn ceiling and the bulb which hung from it. Unbeknownst to my helper, a secret dwelt there beneath that drywall. Near the hanging light was a small hole filled with spray foam, where I had sealed some of those little crazy makers in. No more scratching now, little cuties. Anyway, I locked the door with an impish grin and walked out toward the vandal, running my fingers compulsively along the chain links of the fence as I went. Before I could open the door and jump into the driver's seat, Ozzy stopped me.
Hey, I've been meaning to ask you, you noticed something strange about the last show?
Saturday night? No, not really. They paid. Why?
I don't know. Somebody weird in the audience?
I stopped suddenly.
What do you mean?
It's hard to say, really. I thought I saw someone in the back moving around during the show, like hiding behind people.
I stepped a little closer to him.
What did he look like?
It was dark. Couldn't really get a good look at him, but the eyes were bobbing around like weird.
We looked at each other for a few moments without speaking.
Ozzy, I don't exactly know how to tell you this. It's gonna sound crazy, but...
What?
I think one of those drunk cougars was trying to get your phone number.
Fuck you,
he said, pushing past me.
Got a secret admirer, Oz. Maybe she'll be there today waiting for you.
Yeah, asshole. Sorry I asked. Hey, on another note, I got a present for you.
Ozzy ran back to his bike and unlashed an object with metal tubing welded to it.
What the hell is that?
It's our new suicide seat. I made it yesterday. Now we can ride 3 in the van.
He mounted it quickly in between the 2 stock seats with a clever latching system that he had devised.
That's awesome, man. Really, thanks. I always wish the Vandal could seat 3.
I said.
No problem, bro. Want me to drive?
Sure. Got a full tank of gas.
You look a little tired, bud.
Didn't get a lot of sleep last night.
No worries. Put your seat back, dude. Take a load off.
He got into the cab and turned the engine over with a few trademark wiggles of the key. I got in the passenger side and slouched down a bit to get comfortable. The Vandal took off from the sidewalk with a bounce. Ozzy turned onto Halbert Street, ignoring the one-way sign.
You know that's a one-way, right?
Hadn't noticed.
We made our way out to Route 130 north toward our gig. Soon after, we passed an abandoned restaurant with a for sale sign on the front. A restaurant that I'd made a sales call to a year earlier. The owner had told me they didn't need our help to bring in the customers. Serves you right. I smiled. The sun's early morning glare was intense, but Ozzy was wearing sunglasses, and I decided to close my eyes and watch the orange glow behind my lids. At some point, I must have fallen asleep. I see a strange orange flicker far off in the woods. I walk closer to it. The forest is very dark, darker than I remember it ever having been before. At first, I think it might be night before remembering that there is no such thing in this liminal land of eternal daybreak. I look up and see the cone-like silhouette of Carthagus far away in the distance, contrasting against the twilit sky. The cool air alerts me that I am nearing the edge of this land. Only a faint glow rises from its peak, giving me the impression that the distance has grown longer between the woods and the mountains. The atmosphere is a strange twinkle, a canopy of silvery jewels, not that of stars, but of a moving, rippling constellate of glimmers like water catching the light in the waves. The air is cold against my face, Yet my black fleece keeps me warm. Carthagest is the only radiant source of both heat and illumination. Taking careful steps, I creep over the damp twigs and branches cluttering the forest floor, making my way closer to the mysterious yellow kindling in the distance. I brush past ferns, careful to avoid any noise. As I close in, I notice that it is a fire of some kind. I prowl through some vegetation and stop when I notice figures positioned around the flames. I quickly realize that they are, in fact, the elusive vagabonds I had met before, in a wide circle and singing softly. In the center of the party, a torch is burning wildly, illuminating the tree trunks around it. I pause, watching the eerie limelight of the blaze. Much the same as a magic lantern, the fire projects an unsettling orange tail upon the side of a heavy wagon. Querulous silhouettes condemned to a two-dimensional existence, flickering in fear that someday the fire might be smothered. Near this torch, I spy a tall standing stone, similar to the one I had seen before. A menhir whose rocky surface is distortedly brightened as if by footlights, revealing deep, unknown etchings on its surface. The group seems to be standing about this place as if in reverence, waiting for something. What have I stumbled on? I crept up through a tangle of sticker bushes behind this wagon, using it as cover. While crouched by a wheel, I peer through the spokes and notice the doors begin to slowly and silently open. The broadside, hinged at the top, is lifting, creating an awning while the lower part of the clapboard folds down to become a small stage. The large wooden coach is, in fact, a sideshow wagon. Lit by the glow of the fire, the golden highlights of its Baroque ornamentation glisten with extravagance. I sneak past the small wooden fold-out platform when I hear a noise akin to twisting metal. I look up on the stage. Although it is dark, I can see a tall metal object deep into the wagon. I strain my eyes further and perceive in the very center of the cavity is my coat tree, this time overhung with Riddlesbrood's dark violet costume, barely distinguishable from the shadows. I lean over the edge of the platform to get a closer look. The clothing is draped over the metal hooks like rags on a skeleton, just as they were when I created them. Moving slightly with a breeze, the whole collection hangs like a fleshless wraith. As the multitude of its disparate garments are held aloft by its golden wishbones, and the purple hat rests patiently on one of the topmost pegs, I can almost smell the moldy aroma of the dye that I had used wafting from its resting place. I look at it for a moment or two, then slowly crawl toward the fire when I hear a thin whisper reminiscent of tearing crepe paper.
"Try me,"
it says. I turn around suddenly and heedlessly utter,
Riddlesbrood?
before instantly lowering my voice. I dart my eyes toward the troopers. After a few tense seconds, I am finally confident that my speech was not detected.
Where's the rest of you? No need to steal my makeup?
The deflated arrangement hung silently for a moment, as if to give me more time to examine it.
"I am only a costume, but who knows what I might become on you?"
Who are you this time? Who truly? Are you the hat rack simply peddling another stolen item, bringing your prey to me as you had with the Black Fleece? Or are you Riddlesbrood himself, in some other form? Or am I just thinking too much? The confusion makes me cautious, so I change the subject.
Who are these people?
I ask in a whisper, gesturing toward the small company of carousers singing in the circle. A whispered response slithers over from the attire, barely audible. I close my eyes in the hope of hearing it better.
"You know them all, Ardiel. This is a dedication of sorts, and a purging. They are old inhabitants of this realm, unearthed, yet joined to the land. They are the Rye Chain. They are my hunters.
They forced me to pull a wagon, but I can't say I know them.
I open my eyes, and as they adjust, I notice the hat rack seems closer than it was before, the slender metal post bending just enough to allow the spectacles an opportunity to glance over to the secret rite unfolding nearby.
Your visits here in dreams are not always remembered. Perhaps you should come here in waking life. Perhaps you should try a different door.
Not understanding his meaning, I look again at the party gathered and notice that there is another there I did not recognize.
Do they have names?
Of course one of them receives his name presently. Surely you must recognize Turian. He wears the white coat and carries a lantern.
I gaze over to the figures and can tell he refers to the point man I had seen previously, his chiseled stone face etched even deeper in the torchlight.
He is fearless, and he is inflexible. The man is set in his ways, stubborn, and rarely changes his mind. He is the dominant, the leader of every quest.
Unlike the others, I notice he sits deathly still, focused as he watches the torch intently, as if it were a crystal ball.
Tirelessly he follows every mission to its ends. He is their guide, but you must be careful that he never guides you.
The unknown man is on his knees, under guard by the belligerent hunchback. Although he is not facing in my direction, I can tell that he is cupping something in his hands.
How does he know where to lead them?
A good question. He goes where he is told, and the rest must follow.
I hear the tuning of a stringed instrument and turn my gaze back to the troop. An older man, the minstrel in the crimson coat, lifts the mask from his face and begins to tighten and tune his lute, preparing to play.
How about the musician? I think I've seen him twice before. At least that's what I can remember. What's he called?
He calls himself Weirdreg, the Bard, a merry character who knows much of the ancient age before the shrink. Even now his song sharpens their imagination.
With my attention brought to his tune, I listen more closely. It's an eerie ballad, and in the same language that I could not comprehend.
Azra, Druganu, Unafu Riddlesbrood, Ga Drunchu Igendum, Sagaga I Nu, Drunashul Ra Bakanash, Twamatwa Drunchu Ayu.
The kneeling man holds up his hands as the music ends. His clothing is dull and unpainted and colorless. The red-haired girl, who seems the master of the ceremony, raises her hands and frees a small flock of birds that rest upon the hostage's head and shoulders.
Hiya akin, iakin ga, al name,
She asks.
Zrai ayatkin ga, akin atlai, un okemi,
Says the kneeling man, throwing that which he held into a cavity in the ground right before the monument. By the sound, I discern that it is a water-filled hollow. At this, the hunchback, who had been guarding the man, let him go. The red-haired girl lifts her mask, displaying a face as pale as moonlight.
She is Fairgain,
Came the voice.
conversant with birds, yet she flutters with a fatal flaw. She does not learn from her mistakes and is doomed to repeat past misgivings.
What of the ugly one carrying the big metal shield making the thunder sound? The hunchback?
Hunchback? Is that what you see? Jogar is never what he seems to be, a changeling. He may become anything he desires.
The disfigured brute revels in poking at the torchfire with his large axe. He wears no shoes, and his long sandy hair hangs down from his head in a wild, disheveled manner.
The Gragrung fear the thunder of the mountain, and the shield drives away the small ones. As to his character, well, he is arrogant, and also a scoundrel when required, but he can survive in any situation.
I stood up impulsively at the voice's words.
I'll go meet them again.
Wise. But before that, I beseech you, dress the part and your meeting will be all that you hope it will be.
He advises. The subtle sound of a few falling drops of rain can be heard hitting the leaves above me. I look at the costume again. Its griffin-like claws pinning it to the stage. Within it, a lavender-colored plasma licks from under the sleeves and neckline.
Maybe later,
I say before creeping away toward the front wheel of the wagon. The door of the wagon lowers with a creak and a feeling of disappointment, the heavy latches locking into place all by themselves. I was glad to be rid of him and found myself eager to overhear those former companions of mine. Surely these masked travelers could unravel the mystery of those little faces that I found, allowing me to better decipher them when I was awake. I try to listen to them, but as before, they speak a different language, a tongue I had barely heard before, and no birds were nearby to translate. I wait and listen for some time before growing restless. The man who was the focal point of the strange ceremony wanders off into the woods. The rest of the band loiter about the space, as if waiting for something. The ritual, however, seems complete. I reason that I have already met them, and there is likely no harm in introducing myself again. So finally, I muster the nerve to walk out from behind the cover of the wagon wheel and out into the open. I clap my hands as I had seen them do before and attempt to greet them in their own language.
Verstananoni,
I say with very little confidence. They close their masks and draw their weapons. The hunchback shakes his thunder shield and jumps toward me with his bloody axe.
I should have worn the suit.
Osputad! Ah! Azekovash!
He says as he raises his weapon.
Zerai, Afragram, lead, Uraspeg, Ufash, Sayunitlai,
Says the red-haired girl holding out her hand defensively. In the short silence that follows her speech, I hear the subtle sounds of warbling. She loosens her mask and softly shakes her head, allowing the birds to emerge from her hair and flutter about the clearing. Their chirps become louder as they babble. I suddenly raise my eyebrows. Some are babbling in English. She faces me and claps 2 times as I respond to her with an expression of hopeful confusion. By their body movements, I deem that I have offended them somehow.
You must be a fool to find us a second time, Scrimlander!
Jogar says.
He's the drowsy who woke up pulling the wane, missing ever since. What say you?
Seize him!
One of them orders sternly as I am grabbed from behind. My view is swiftly filled with the painted sleeves of my unseen assailant. There's a pattern on the fabric. Little skulls. Torian, or so Riddlesbrood had referred to him, the one in the white distressed jacket, strides over to me and grabs my cheeks in his hands, staring into my face as if it were a mirror.
Where have you been hiding?
I stare into his ice-blue eyes, piercing at first, and as the seconds pass, more confused and frustrated. He shakes my head as my hands reflexively grab his arms in a panic, yet to no effect.
Where is your earth?
He stares at me, as if to divine some presentiment.
He was spying upon this sacred space.
Another voice says.
Perhaps he treats with the hag in the woods.
You see nothing?
Fairgain asks Torian, who is still grabbing my face painfully.
Please, I'm only a traveler. I got lost on the road.
I start to say, when I am released. One of the birds begins chattering away, translating my words for them.
Ah! There are no roads here in the Beltwood,
Jogar says.
I'm an actor. A traveling actor on my way to town.
What town?
Jogar presses.
I see nothing behind this face. Nothing.
My captor says as the others come closer.
He has no future here. Kill him.
The hunchback quickly draws his weapon. As I see him leaning back for the swing, suddenly the image of the headless bodies comes back to me in a flash.
Brood's doom!
I yell. I hold up my hand to block the blow when one of the golden charms falls out of my grasp and onto the ground. The shine of the falling object gets their attention. Torian steps in front of the axe wielder and bends down to pick it up.
Is that?
Where did you discover this?
Torian asks as he examines it.
It's your name.
She says.
He is much afraid. He must be hiding his clod somewhere, keen for us not to find it. But we will, you filthy scapegrace!
He thrusts the base of his axe into my gut, stealing my breath and leaving a bloody stain on my shirt. Where the blood came from, I do not want to know. But this dream has certainly become more painful than any other before it. Purposefully, I close my eyes and try to wake up. When I open them again, my location has not changed.
He knows some of our language, so he must have been here a long time.
Fairgain says.
Impossible that he could hide so long.
Are you blind? This traitor has fled the reckoning. He likely hid with the others like himself,
says Jogar before turning to Fairgain.
And how did this leech sneak past you, girl?
Gentlemen and ladies, I tell you, this man is special. I wouldn't behead him if I were you.
I cough a few times as they silently look at me. Eventually, I raise my head and decide to muster up a question.
Riddlesbrood asked me to find more of these.
I pull out more of the small faces that were in my pocket. How they got there, I cannot imagine, but such is the logic of dreams. As I hold out my palm, they all close in to examine the little treasures twinkling in the palm of my hand. The minstrel strums his strings again before abruptly stopping once more to twist a tuning knob.
It's our names. All of our names.
Fairgain says.
Still deem me wrong?
Werdreg asks playfully. The entire troop gazes in wonder at the sight, as if they had seen real what had merely been myth before.
What can this mean?
Where did you steal these from, you thieving little leech?
Forbear that talk,
says Fairgain.
This Scrimlander holds type from the brood's doom, not seen since before these woods were born.
Then the hunchback grabs me by my fleece and lifts me from the ground.
Just look at his clothes. Where did you pilfer these garments?
Jogar, that is not our charge. Leave him. Our mission is to hunt Earthmen, not a one such as him.
Let me come with you.
I offer.
I found these in an old keep underground. I know where there are more.
That is not our charge.
But if this is true, the Aga will want to know of it. We must learn more.
Fairgain says.
The fire is almost gone. Our call continues. Gather your gear and prepare to move.
Torian then sheathes his sword and walks away.
I hear and follow,
says the minstrel, as he strums a note slightly out of tune.
Show me where the ruins are. An overgrown castle.
I ask. Torian says nothing.
I hear and follow,
echoes Fairgain, closing her mask again.
I know where there are more of these. If you could only lead me to the ruins.
Torian stops in his tracks for a moment, as if hesitating, before mumbling something to himself.
Our task is set on another goal. Our duty shall not be fulfilled, straying into rash adventures.
Even though he refuses me, the others seem struck that he even responds, as if it is opposite to his nature to even negotiate. Their reaction inspires me to press again.
These are important to you? You know what it means? Take me to the castle, and I will find more of these. I saw hundreds of them underground.
Where?
In a box. A big chest on an altar.
I say hurriedly.
What harm is there, Torian? The hunt can wait. Give those deceivers some more time to hide their clod. We shall find them soon enough.
I say, we chop off his stinking head!
The hunchback yells.
Please, take me there.
I say again.
Perhaps he can reveal why we...
Fairgain is cut off as Torian turns around and lets out his breath loudly.
So be it. We shall go to the ruins and see what can be found. Then, we will know if this Scrimlander lies or not, and if Jogar shall get his prize. Breakdown camp.
All of the troops seem much surprised by this change, but also glad to hear it. They grab their gear, and we all begin walking through the woods, leaving the wagon behind. But before we leave, everyone forms a circle around that sacred space once again, clapping, then backing away with reverence. I catch a quick glance into the small hole, but I can see nothing but a clump of melting mud inside. As to what the kneeling man might have thrown in there, I cannot tell. We walk for some time, deep into the woods, where little of the mountain's glare light reaches. Still, the world seems to brighten, perchance pleased with the actions of this dream. Be that as it may, I constantly wonder at the wisdom of aligning myself with these people. A bit later, we approach a cleft in the ground, a narrow creek bed where a single trickle of water passes over pebbles and river stones.
Lee Afrigram Taloud.
Torian says as the little bird flies closer in.
Euglin will take us to the inner plains, for Harkin is larger than it used to be, and the walk is far.
After we stand there for a few moments, I feel a great thirst come upon me. I bend down to the creek and cup my hands for a sip when Fairgain yanks my shoulder from behind, causing me to lose my balance and roll over rather ungracefully.
Dimwit, you seek to poison yourself?
I'm thirsty.
One cannot drink scrim water. It will rot you from within.
I look at her with open-mouthed stupidity as she hands me a wineskin from her belt. I take it and drink, the taste of cool water flooding my mouth.
Brown waters flowing up country are poison. Only offspring, clear waters flowing from the mountain are pure. How are you not dead yet?
After a few moments, I can hear a sound coming from a bend in the creek up ahead. A small ship appears in the distance with two dim red lamps hanging from its aft. The gully is nearly without water, yet the heavy vessel barrels down toward us all the same. As it is dark, it is difficult to see much of this craft, but its methodic motion is undeniable. It glides toward us on what appears to be an anthill of small, moving bugs. How it does this, I cannot discern. But as it draws closer, I hear sounds which give me hints as to the cause of its buoyancy. Screams, moans, and tormented sighs hearken its coming and give clue to the ship's ghastly draft. As the boat skirts the bend and comes into clearer view, its gruesome silence is revealed. Although there is little water, the boat careens upon a flow not of bugs, but of heads. Thousands and thousands of screaming, blinking heads tumbling beneath its hull as so many marbles in a bowl. There are flies, plenteous amounts of them. The creaking vessel is supported by these fly-covered heads as if by water. Each bloody, wet noggin rolling and gnashing against each other, providing a slippery surface for the craft to glide upon. Many of these decapitations are without ears or noses from excessive wear. The pile of heads in front of the ship appears the most horrendous, as if they think themselves close to salvation, tumbling away from the keel, only to bunch up again, pulled back by cruel gravity. My God! The walls of the narrow valley keep the heads confined enough to provide the lift, and the shallow hull of the ship is so coated with gore as to give little friction to the skulls as they spin. Indeed, some are still covered with hair, wet and sopping, but slicked on their reddened faces. Still others are but bloody skulls, having supported the ship for a greater time. But the screams that accompanied the flowing massacre are more frightening than all else. Eventually, the ship stops abreast of me and the landing plank comes off to provide a footing. The boat appears to be constructed of some type of tarnished yellow metal. At the back of the boat, an amazing bronze-like figurehead grows out of the stern, holding the tiller and leaning threateningly over the deck. The statue's skin is as rust-colored as the waters, but the boat is empty save a few burlap sacks and coils of rope.
Ho there!
Calls Torian to the unmanned craft, after which the statue itself turns toward us in an instant and speaks to me.
Come! Do not let these whiting skulls sadden you. They kept their earth, and we become more monster than men.
At his words, I turn and run when Jogar and Torian grab my arms and pull me back. I struggle for a moment as they release their grip. As I fall to the ground, the others let out a deep laughter.
Uglan, we shall need your assistance. We make for the ruins.
Torian says, stepping over me.
I can take you as far as the woodbreak on the scrape. Beyond that, I cannot roll. But who is this unmasked one with you? He has no earth, yet ignores the law.
Allow us to board your ship. I will tell you more as we ride.
Very well. I pray you have not stinted me of my gifts.
Jogar responds by dumping a sack full of freshly severed heads into the mix. At the addition, the other skulls cease their clamor. The ones retaining eyes roll them and watch the newcomers with quivering avidity. The freshly dead snap up their lids, and instantly frightful emotion appears to repossess them. After a few confused dilations and optical darting, they grasp their fate. Their expressions quickly shuffle over the full measure of their horror, finally fixed on misery. The latecomers at last burst into lungless shrieks, giving a sweet second of comfort to the rest, for at least the newcomers, too, shall share their desperate woe. In a terrible climax, they all cry out in tandem agony, all under the same boat.
Who were these people?
I ask as the rest look at each other in confusion.
Surely you must be wistful foreigners,
says the bronze figure.
Well, you have come to your wits. These dregs have lost them. When you lose your bearings on Harkin, you become one. Their moans are warnings to others. Abandon ship while you can, or you will become the water.
Well, away then,
Torian says. Our ship moves for a long time, although it's difficult to say how long exactly, time acting strangely while in dreams. Harkin, I'm sure you've noticed by now, has no day, night, nor seasons that I can tell, and the landscape and characters peopling it seem both familiar, as if drawn from my life's experiences, yet also mysteriously impromptu. I see a figure moving on the bank ahead, climbing up onto a rock. As we approach, I perceive that it's a tall, thin figure, dressed snugly in black. By the fluid grace of movement, I assume this one to be a woman. I lean over to fair game.
Who is she?
She's called or else. She is not to be trifled with,
she says. Eventually, the craft stops at a place where the woods thin out and the bright light of Carthagus again shines down, its crater like a topless beauty sunning itself before us.
Ah, how goes the hunting here, lovely one?
Were-Dreg sings out. The woman jumps aboard and walks briskly to the leader, ignoring the minstrel, and whispers into his ear. Her theatrical mask is more sinister than the others, with large, angled, glazed-over eyes and skull-like nose holes. Her dark attire is darkened further by her contrasting bright golden hair and buttons to match, buttons that join her coat from waist to throat. She also holds two large, sickle-shaped weapons, one in each hand. We disembark and begin our trek up the mountain with this newcomer. The woman eventually tilts up her mask and fastens her weapons onto her back. With her mask upturned, the features of her face reveal a terrible beauty and long blonde hair. Yet it is hard to observe much aside from the cruel-looking steel sickles gleaming on her back. I recognize the terrain, and after a few hours, I can see the familiar, half-covered ruins on the upper plateau. but they lead me to a different place, a small cave nearer to where we are.
Is this it?
I ask. Torian does not answer, but hacks at the foliage until the entrance of the dark cave is fully revealed.
This is not the way I came before.
I say, after which Jogar raises an eyebrow.
The Aga once dwelled here,
Says Fairgain.
True, but Scrimlander parasites also hide in holes like this.
Jogar says, glancing at me. We all slowly push away the vines and intrude into the darkness, using only Torian's lantern for illumination. I glance into the mouth of the cave. Utter blackness. It is of that mysterious, exquisite kind of darkness that madmen either run from or make love to. The others brush beside me and enter first, leaving me outside for an uneasy 5 seconds. Eventually, their absence obliges me to follow. Once inside, I recognize it to be a frightful place, long unfrequented. With Torian's weak lantern, we take a slow survey of the chamber's throat. Oh, the odor is what first affronts me. A strong, disagreeable turpentine reek, which, while reminiscent of the brown waters of the past, is additionally flavored with the tinge of decay. Fairgain brings a cloth to her mouth, but not before letting out a weak gasp of revulsion. Her action reminds me that I, too, am holding my breath. My body forces me to draw in the foul air and the death that hangs within it. Sporadic dripping noises can be detected in all corners of the grotto. We walk forward slowly, our feet crunching and slurping on the tar-like floor. The light slowly unveils more, but it cannot reach the walls of the chamber, and we must all be content with our imaginations to fill the voids. I notice the tiny bird sitting on Fairgain's shoulder.
Will that bird stay with us?
I ask.
It is called a nif, and it may not care for it down here. Not for long.
Great.
Our feet continue to crunch and squash things as we step, and a far-off stonework comes into view. Unlike the natural cavern walls before, this is made of masonry and inset with a door. The floor below the entrance is cluttered with all manner of debris and festering refuse. Strangely, as I look to my right, I see Torian in his wrinkled white coat, holding the lantern in front of him. He turns a small knob to brighten it, and the light sheds from him, as if bouncing off a fabric reflector. The lamp he holds is styled after the mountain itself, cone-shaped, with a ring at the top. The sides of the lantern are set with burnt orange-colored glass, and a top opening that is clear, exposing the light of the fragile flame. Carthagist, it appears, in miniature. He seems to detect me watching him and raises his head slightly up from the ground to gaze at me. His face tilts so that his eyes are barely visible beneath his brows. Though his face remains expressionless, his stare unsettles me.
Ugh! It smells of sour scrim water in here,
Jogar utters, brushing his nose with his wrist. My eyes adjust better as we approach the massive door. It rises to a pointed arch, while its lower portion is partially dissolved. The portal is constructed of a heavy wood that is clearly of an ancient age, a conjecture seemingly supported by a film of copious cobwebs. It is pocked with mold and occasional mushrooms, the planks bolted together with heavy yet rusted iron hinges and straps.
Something sought entrance to this place. Something angry.
Werdreg says in a dark tenor, most unlike him. He meets my gaze before pointing to the door again. I follow his finger with my eyes and see deep claw marks upon the plank surface, partially covered with black mold. Aurel steps forward and, using one of her sickles, scrapes off some of the filth coating the wood. A mat of wet matter peels away, revealing a few spiders and more of the deep scratches. Clearly something powerful had struggled to break through, apparently in vain. Fairgain gulps loudly and alerts the rest to a crumpled corpse lying at the edge of the right side of the door. the white skull peeking out from rotting rags and red fungus. Torian swings his lantern over to it. Yes, it was clearly an ancient carcass, but nothing of the flesh remains. Whatever its clothing may have been has long since turned to rot, although there does seem to be enough food for a large centipede, which streams out of it when touched with the light. A polearm weapon, broken in half, hints at its fate, and some metal gleams from within the folds of its indiscernible tatters. Aurelse pushes past Fergain and reaches down toward the body. She inelegantly yanks the metal object from the pile. The skeleton briefly exposes itself before falling apart at the rough extraction. She holds it up toward the lantern and examines it, thereby allowing me to examine her. She has light eyes and clear skin, her blonde hair lightly lying over the side of her face. I know you from somewhere.
Breastplate.
She says.
Valuable.
Yet it is only half the armor. The leather strapping has long ago dissolved, but the back piece still lays on the ground, appearing like a dish serving up a helping of human ribs.
Prize of the Jaeger!
Werdreg says with a cheerful timbre in his voice.
First stage workmanship before the shrink.
The minstrel then pokes through the corpse with a bit more reverence before finding a flattish object. He holds it aloft. It was a mask similar to their own, but this one was stained with ancient and encrusted blood.
They fled through here to the Underkeep,
he says, and then runs his fingers over the 2 eye holes of the mask. The lenses are both broken.
Why are the lenses shattered?
I ask.
The masks shield us from the bright glare bursts, the ire of the Grand Mountain. To crack one glass is disheartening. 2.
Fergain looks at Jogar.
2 is an ill omen,
she says, taking it into her grasp. She then uses the aged mask to scrape away some more of the mold from the door, revealing 2 lines of faces.
Atlai, Zut, Eul, Ayatlai, Amupet, Ardiel.
Fergain reads softly.
You can read that? The faces?
I ask. She crosses her arms and scowls at me, her expression making it clear she is offended.
Just your little friend didn't translate it,
I whisper.
It knows that I was reading.
She snaps.
The script is a command. To keep it closed until someone called Ardiel returns.
Perhaps that was the name of the captain of his guard,
Torian says while I remain silent. Is that meant for me? My thought does not linger long. A clawing sound comes from behind us, prompting us all to turn around quickly.
What the fuck was that?
I ask, leaning against the wall. The party readies their weapons, all except Torian, who holds the light. He waves it back and forth, but the glow does not reach the far wall of the chamber. Only the distant light peering through the opening of the cave can be seen.
The floor is wet,
Fergain says.
That means...
Suddenly, we hear a dragging sound in the near distance. Shh, Torian says. The dragging starts and stops intermittently, along with the sound of my heartbeat. No one speaks. I find myself counting my heart's rhythm as the clatter continues. At around beat 20, the dragging becomes scurrying, as if something long groggy has finally awoken.
There's more than one. Oh, this is no place for a great musician,
says Werdreg.
Kids, piss on the holy blanket! Out, you groggy filth!
Jogar lifts his shield and shakes it, expressing his anger in loud, thundering booms. At once, the floor itself begins to scramble and writhe like a boiling stew.
Let's get out of here,
I yell as the noise intensifies. We move back around the opening when the silhouettes of larger somethings begin to shamble before the cave's mouth.
No, the door! Open the door!
Torian says, or else grabs the large handle, but it is rusted solid.
Jogar, the door!
He moves over and pounds on it a few times unsuccessfully. Despite its age, the sheer thickness of the timbers holds strong, My blood seems to freeze as a screech streams from the unseen corner of the blackness, the sound of the scream echoing against the walls of the cave.
Fairgain, Jogar, get the portal open. Everyone else, behind me.
Torian says again, drawing his sword with his free hand. In less than an eye's blink, I and Jogar begin to whack on the door. Fairgain, with her foot, clears away the debris at its rotten bottom. It begins to wiggle on its hinges as we deliver our blows.
Stop, idiot! It opens out!
Orel says from afar.
I'll break it to bits!
Jogar grunts, drawing his axe from his back.
I think we might need the door when we get on the other side.
I say as something runs by my foot.
Oh, shit!
As Torian waves the lantern around, small movements seem to swarm across the marshy floor. 3 screams burst out of the blackness, forcing me to cover my ears. The bird flutters off. The flapping wings seem to take my hope away with them.
Jogar, Athlon, Atlut.
Torian yells from behind me.
Hale, Aram, Bashe, Grakra? Atlai, Halai, Ibathladas. Bashe, Pashle, De, Staret, Leste.
Though I cannot understand them, their general gestures suggest that they are referring to some monster that they had mentioned before. Grogrung? Fucking squirrels?
Oten, Edetade, Ga, Cloud!
I hear the sound of a blade hitting stone and scurrying again. Jogar sticks his axe into the door jamb and starts to pry. I find a rock on the ground and begin to slam down on the rusty handle, hoping to break it loose.
I hope this Scrimlander was worth it,
mutters a far-off bird, cloaking the statement's originator. I slam on the handle again, and this time, something metal within clunks together. The axe pries open the door an inch or so, the great portal creaking loudly as it swings. Both of us reach in with our fingers and pull it out until it's a body-width's ajar.
It's open!
I yell.
Uden! Uden!
Torian yells back. I gather that I am supposed to pass through, but a sudden fear of what might be behind the door roots me to the floor. I look over to Jogar, who scowls back at me. Almost by instinct, we both turn our gaze to the black, cool opening before us. He smiles, moves closer, and drops his shield to the ground. As the others fight whatever crawls, the hunchback grabs me by my neck and whispers to me.
Drunshun, Uden, Ortlai, Wendeski! Scrimlander, Ultrats!
I watch his chapped lips form and say the words as if in slow motion. And like before with the cedar box, the meaning seems to sneak under my mind and into my awareness.
You shall go first, lying Scrimlander,
he says, spitting the words as he shoves me through the door. I collapse into the stone floor with a thud. Dazed by the impact, my cheek starts to sting from scraping across the rough ground. There is a scuffling behind me before the door closes and the light is extinguished.